And so I'm now today talking about our third and final decan of Leo. And this is where we understand this decan through the idea of Mars in Leo. So if we look at Leo itself, we have the constellation of the lion. We see this sign of the zodiac marked by the strength card in the Rider-Waite tarot deck. And here, perhaps unexpectedly, we don't see the brute force, the sword in hand of a man defeating this ferocious beast. We have instead a compassionate stance, a crescent moon, lunar feminine energy with gentle, persistent persuasion being expressed as strength. And so, what we kind of see here is this union of opposing forces, the feminine, the, the deep wisdom of the feminine, and then this ferocious lion, pure strength, pure potential. There is a seminal potency to this lion. So, this is our strength. And Leo, as a zodiac sign, is represented or represents kingship, power, creativity, self expression, visibility. And what we have then with Mars in Leo is pressure and sheer force. Mars can be destructive. There is again a potency to our warlike planet. The Tower card represents Mars, showing how that devastation can be wreaked. And we can see it can come in the most sudden way. We see a phallic symbol here of the tower. It's like this, it's under pressure, and the pressure has to give way. And we see this orgasmic sort of charge being discharged here in our lightning strike. And it's caused people to fall from their ivory towers back down to earth. The tower card can seem threatening, and Mars certainly can feel threatening. However, amidst this confusion, amidst the chaos, and perhaps things being laid to waste around you, structures crumbling to the earth, there is a sense that Mars breaks down anything that shouldn't be there. In this sense, the Tower card happens for you, not to you. You may not like it when it's happening, but it's a sort of energy that comes through, leaves destruction in its wake, but maybe years down the line, you can recognize this had to happen and it was actually for the best outcome. This can feel like losing a job, a relationship, or a marriage breakup. It can feel like a sudden illness, something catastrophic happening in your life, a set of circumstances. But what it does do is by pulling the rug from underneath your feet, you can hold on to what's true and build back from that point, and all the superfluous things can fall away. So we then have this expression in the minor arcana where we have our strength and our Leo and our kingship, and we have this pressure and this force. What we see here is a Seven of Wands representing these two cards. And perhaps what we see here is this sovereignty under pressure. This person has the high ground. They know what's true for them, but they must still protect it, seemingly at all costs. No matter what they come up against, they are still going to hold strong to that. Whatever's left is the essence, the purest, truest sense of self. This person is going to be defending that. So the crown, the sacred crown that we see, needs defending. Your own sovereignty, your own sense of freedom. So, to conclude the overarching myth that I described in Leo, we have Attis and Sybil. Sybil and Attis wildly in love. And yet, what happens is at some point, Sybil is abandoned. Sybil is left behind because Attis moves forward to another wedding. He's going to unite with somebody else. And this can feel like our feminine being abandoned, the intuition. These are the moments in our life where we abandon intuition, our ego takes over, and we think we can go ahead without our sacred wisdom. And this is sort of the metaphorical version of what's going on here. So when Sybil gets abandoned, out Attis goes to his wedding and she follows. She turns up at his wedding and there is a frenzied air as she arrives. And amidst all of this Mars-like chaos, Attis is sent to the brink of madness. This chaos ensues where he ends up castrating himself. And we can see this real sexual tension here expressed in the Tower card, playing out in this myth. And he dies from his wounds. And there is a sense then that Sybil, through remorse, rebirths him through into a tree in some myths. Otherwise, he's bled out underneath the tree. And we get a sense, nevertheless, that this force that is destroyed so much, created so much widespread grief and loss. Nevertheless, the tree grows in all its beauty and continues to grow and give more life on this earth. And so again, the message of the Tower, all is not lost. We can reuse this energy. It's about directing that force. So a pretty harsh lesson here. And the idea then that we do need to defend our principles. We do need to maintain this sense of sovereignty. And alongside this myth of Sybil and Attis is another. And the myth I'm going to use today is the one of the Minotaur. If you remember the Minotaur, and the key players here are Ariadne and Theseus. Theseus is the young man who is going to be a sacrifice to the Minotaur and is going in his belief to go and slay the Minotaur. But it's been done many times. Many sacrifices of young men have been made in this way. And we see Ariadne here, the princess, the daughter of the king Minos, who has created this labyrinth. And she holds the key, the wisdom, the inner connection, the female understanding of the situation. And she gives Theseus a thread, and the thread allows him to navigate through the labyrinth. And remember, this labyrinth is you, your subconscious mind, the chaos of life, everything around the great unknown. And that inner wisdom, that feminine wisdom of Ariadne provides the thread, the single truth that will get you through no matter what else is falling apart, no matter how dark it gets. And so this is rich in symbolism, this thread that she provides to Theseus. He goes in, he defeats the Minotaur. Given her wisdom, he then is able to navigate back out. He doesn't die in the maze. He comes through and becomes the hero. And he takes her away and they elope to a far-off island. And there he abandons her. He decides to move on to a new life. And she is left, Ariadne. Even her status as a princess, her political power that she wields within the castle, all gone. She's stranded on an island. None of this means anything anymore. And here we see that ability for our ego, Theseus, the hero, to use the feminine wisdom when necessary, but then to abandon it as he becomes this hero. He forgets how important the feminine principle, the wisdom that comes from within is, and how often we do this ourselves when we don't pay attention to our own intuition. So a warning here for us, where can we pay more attention to that inner wisdom? And so left on this island, we are stuck with the situation we see here. We have Ariadne defending her truth, her own sense of self. She is holding on now by her own thread to what is true for her. And at this point, Dionysus enters. So with Ariadne, abandoned on the shores. We see her crown, her lineage has come to nothing until Dionysus doesn't rescue her. He chooses her. And this is so important. He chooses her as a divine consort and he gives her a wedding crown. He restores the crown. And this is the corona borealis that is then set up, immortalized in our night skies as a constellation. Isn't that beautiful? That when Ariadne holds on to her sense of self, even when everything else has been stripped away, the beauty, the truth, her nobility shines through, and Dionysus chooses her. And so we now see Ariadne going through her own initiation. She has had the tower moment. She has lost everything, it seems, and yet she was still able to defend her sense of self, her self-worth, her own power. No matter what she came up against, Dionysus is now united with her. And Dionysus, we know from mythology, is the wild abandon that we saw in Sibyl and Attis. He has this ability to enter into states of ecstasy. He dances. He has orgies. He has this level of sexual abandon. There is a wild side, and yet there is purity in that love. Her crown, her status is not only revived, but then becomes immortalized. She also reaches for higher levels. She reaches a state of immortality because it's her crown, the aura borealis, that is then put into the skies, immortalized in our skies as a constellation. And so we see here And so we see how important it is to bring balance within ourselves. Yes, we can have our heroic journey, our heroic struggle, but let us not forget that we must depend on that feminine power, the inner voice that guides us. If we abandon that, then we see with Attis and Sibyl how wrong that can go. And we can see when we defend our principles of honor, of sovereignty, within ourselves, when we tap in with that thread that connects us to all that is, all that was, all that ever can be, that thread that guides us through the darkness, the labyrinth of life, our unconscious fears, when we can hold on and hold true to who we are, unashamedly who we are, then we come out on top. And not only that, we start to see that we reach that state of immortality. So we see then with Mars in Leo, this irrepressible force and the idea that our own crown, our own sovereignty, our own sense of self is vulnerable. It may be under constant threat. Our boundaries can be constantly tested. But throughout that, can we maintain that thread, that connection to a higher source, and we can be unstoppable? There is the strength and the power and the force that Leo offers us. And we can see the infinity sign above the maiden's head. This energy, this power is infinite. And we then, with that thread, have the ability to tap into that. Anything is possible. So over the next 10 days, I suggest that you just start to bear witness to the times when your intuition is prompting you. Take the time to listen to your inner voice, that creative voice, the imagination, the inspiration, and the intuition, and just start to act on it instead of leaving it behind and just pushing forwards anyway. Take the time these next 10 days to notice where something is being said, and are you able to be still enough to hear it? Patience, compassion, love, strength. Have a wonderful day.